Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am so pumped you're joining me today because we have an absolutely fantastic update to break down. We're looking at the brand new release of Claude Code, specifically version 2.1.187. Now I know, on the surface, a point release number might sound kind of routine, but trust me, this is a major feature and fix release that's going to fundamentally improve your daily coding workflow. We've got a lot of ground to cover today, from major new capabilities to some seriously satisfying bug squashing, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this, because what happens when an AI coding assistant levels up its security, its stability, and its speed all at once? Well, that's exactly what we're answering today. This isn't just about adding shiny new buttons, right? This is about refining the core engine. In this massive build, we're getting 3 powerful new capabilities alongside roughly 17, literally 17 squash bugs plus a whole host of quality of life improvements. When you combine that security, stability, and speed into a single update, the result is a tool you can genuinely trust to run faster and hit way fewer roadblocks.
Section 1. Upgrading security and control. So, the crucial point is, how do we safely let an AI agent run tasks without, exposing the keys to the kingdom? That's exactly where this brilliant new feature comes in, credential sandboxing. In your settings, you'll see it configured as sandbox.credentials. Basically, this lets you explicitly block sandboxed commands from reading your credential files and secret environment variables. In practical terms, this means absolute peace of mind. You can run automated or maybe even slightly less trusted tasks right inside the Claude Code sandbox without that lingering anxiety that it might exfiltrate your API keys, your SSH keys, or really any sensitive secrets sitting in your local environment.
And building on that, organizations can now completely lock down which models their users are actually allowed to use. IT and security teams, listen up. You no longer have to rely on polite policy documents that people, let's be honest, might just ignore. You now have a consistent, hard guardrail. This restriction is strictly enforced across the entire footprint of the tool. Whether a user tries to switch models using the interactive model picker, passing the --model command line flag, typing the /model/command, or even trying to sneak it in via the Anthropic model environment variable, nope. The restriction catches it everywhere.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens when someone tries to bypass that new guardrail. If a user attempts to select a restricted model through any of those methods we just talked about, they are immediately hit with this concrete message: restricted by your organization's settings. It's incredibly clear, it leaves zero room for confusion, and it brings that abstract concept of organizational policy enforcement right into reality.
Section 2. Squashing critical bugs.
All right, first up, let's talk about remote MCP tool calls. If you've used these recently, you might have run into this wildly frustrating issue where a call would just hang. No feedback, no error, just 5 whole minutes of silent hanging, blocking you indefinitely. Well, instead of leaving you in the dark, the system now aborts with an immediate error message right away. Bam, done. Now, if for some reason your specific workflow actually needs that old behavior, or maybe just want a custom timeout, you're not locked out. You can easily override this new default using the Claude Code MCP tool idle timeout environment variable.
We also have a rapid-fire list of incredibly relatable developer pains that are now, thankfully, fixed. First, the structured output infinite loop is closed. Previously, if you used the JSON schema or agent schema workflow, the model could bizarrely recall structured output over and over, even after it had already succeeded. Talk about annoying, right? That loop is shut. Follow-up turns now reliably return structured output. Next, if you use the VS Code extension, you'll be thrilled to know it no longer becomes unresponsive and freezes when you're resuming a large session. And finally, if you've ever pasted Korean or other CJK text into terminals that use per-byte extended key sequences, you probably ended up with a bunch of garbled, unreadable characters, what we call mojibake. That nasty encoding bug? Completely fixed.
Now, what's really interesting here is the number 2.7. That is the exact number of seconds you're saving on every single remote session startup moving forward. Previously, a change that added Agent Proxy CA System Trust installation was inadvertently tacking on about 2.7 seconds of overhead every time you booted up a remote session. Well, the team identified it, and that overhead has been totally removed. It sounds small, right? But 2.7 seconds saved dozens of times a day? That adds up to a massive improvement in your flow state.
Rounding out our bug fixes are 2 crucial background processes. First, subagent depth tracking is fixed. Resumed subagents now correctly restore their original spawn depth instead of just resetting it.
and fork subagents properly count toward your depth cap. This completely stops those sneaky depth limit bypasses. Second, we have a fix for leaked worktree registrations. Back in the day, when an agent process was killed, it could leave behind locked .git/worktrees entries. It was just a mess. Now, those are cleaned up automatically in the background.
Section 3. Quality of life upgrades. Believe it or not, full-screen menus finally support mouse clicks. Seriously, if you operate Claude Code in full-screen mode, you previously had to navigate select menus entirely using your keyboard. But now menus like permission prompts, the /model menu, and the /config menu fully respond to your mouse clicks. It's a really simple change, but honestly, it's a huge victory for daily usability.
And the UX polish doesn't stop there. The /install GitHub app command now makes the GitHub Actions workflow setup totally optional, so you can just install the app and skip the secret steps if you want to. The /BT command gets left and right arrow navigation so you can easily step through earlier answers. The /plugin command now actively surfaces plugins you haven't used recently, which makes it super easy to identify them and clean up your workspace. Oh, and agent stop notifications are vastly improved. They now correctly attribute exactly who stopped the agent, and they use clear, direct language like finished or stopped instead of that old, delightfully vague phrase, came to rest.
Section 4. The path forward.
So we've explored the new enterprise-grade model restrictions, the peace of mind you get from credential sandboxing, and the sheer amount of time saved from instantaneous error reports and faster remote startups. Think about it. When your tools stop getting in your way, when the infinite loops are closed, and your environment secrets are safe, how much more efficiently can you build? This update really showcases the rapid evolution of AI tools, moving from just simple assistants to secure, enterprise-ready workflow engines.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Claude Code 2.1.187. Be sure to head over to claudemaster.net for the full comprehensive manual and incredibly helpful plain English guides to optimize your day-to-day use. But before you go, I want to leave you with this thought. As AI coding tools transition from simple sidekicks to deeply integrated enterprise-secure engines, we really have to ask ourselves, are we ready to trust AI with the keys to the kingdom, or are we just getting started? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.